Indoor Matters with Damian and Sarah.
Welcome back to Indoor Matters podcast, where we talk about what matters to your indoor health, brought to you by Sani Service, Dubai's only indoor environmental health quality management company. I'm Damian, and with me today is Sarah, a true expert when it comes to indoor environments. Sarah, always great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me back. Damian, always happy to dive into these important topics, especially here in Dubai, where indoor environments are so crucial.
Yeah, you're spot on about that. We spend so much time indoors here, especially during those scorching summer months. And speaking of things we try to avoid indoors, let's talk about something that can really impact our homes and health: rising damp. Now, you might think living in a desert climate like Dubai would make us immune to dampness, but that's not quite the case, is it?
Not at all. Rising damp is a surprisingly common problem here, and it's often more insidious because it's not always immediately visible. It's like a hidden enemy slowly chipping away at your home's health.
So for our listeners who might not be familiar with this sneaky foe, can you break down exactly what rising damp is?
Imagine your house as a giant sponge. Rising damp happens when moisture from the ground seeps up into the porous materials of your home, like your walls and floors, through a process called capillary action. Essentially, the moisture travels upwards against gravity, defying what we typically expect.
Okay, so we have moisture creeping upwards, but I'm still a bit puzzled. Dubai doesn't exactly get a lot of rain. Where's all this moisture coming from?
That's the thing, Damian. Even in a desert environment, there are more sources of moisture than you might realize. Leaky pipes are a major culprit. You know, sometimes in older buildings here in Dubai, the plumbing isn't always up to par. Even a tiny persistent drip can introduce enough water over time to create a significant damp problem.
That makes sense. A slow drip might not seem like much, but if it's happening 24/7, it adds up, right? It's like those dripping AC units. You sometimes see a little condensation. Might not seem like a big deal, but if it's constantly dripping, it can create a real mess.
Exactly. And it's not just leaky pipes, believe it or not. Something as seemingly insignificant as improper bathroom tile grouting can be a source of rising damp. If the grout deteriorates, it allows water to seep in during showers or baths, and from there, it can make its way up the walls.
Wow, that's something I wouldn't have thought of. You're telling me that neglecting a bit of regrouting could lead to major moisture problems down the line. I bet a lot of people in Dubai with their beautifully tiled bathrooms wouldn't suspect that.
It's true. It's one of those hidden details that can make a big difference. And of course, we can't forget about those intense, albeit infrequent downpours we do get in Dubai. That rainwater can saturate the ground around your home, and believe it or not, it can take years for that trapped water to fully dry with nowhere else to go. That moisture starts migrating upwards, leading to dampness in your walls and floors.
It's interesting how something we generally associate with dryness, like a desert climate, can actually contribute to dampness problems. So it sounds like even though we don't get constant rain, those occasional heavy downpours can have a lasting impact. But are there other factors that make a home in Dubai more susceptible to rising damp?
Definitely. The way your house is built, especially its foundation, plays a crucial role. Older buildings in Dubai, especially those constructed before modern building codes, might not have adequate damp-proofing layers in their foundations. This lack of protection makes it much easier for ground moisture to work its way up into the structure.
So it's like the foundation is supposed to act as a barrier against rising damp. And if that barrier is weak or non-existent, it's basically an open invitation for moisture to infiltrate your home.
Precisely. And here's another thing to watch out for: efflorescence. Have you ever noticed those white powdery deposits on walls, particularly in older buildings here in Dubai? They almost look like salt stains.
You know, I have seen those in older villas around town. I always assumed it was just some kind of mineral deposit from the water.
That's efflorescence, and it's a clear sign of rising damp. Those deposits are essentially salts and minerals that get pushed out of the building materials as moisture travels through them. It's not just an aesthetic problem, though. It's a red flag that there's moisture trapped inside your walls, wreaking havoc.
Okay, so we've got moisture creeping up from the ground, potentially fueled by leaky pipes, bad grouting, heavy rains, and weak foundations. And then we have this efflorescence thing as a visual clue that something's amiss. But what kind of damage are these efflorescence deposits actually indicating? Is a little bit of dampness really that big of a deal?
Unfortunately, it can be a much bigger deal than people realize. Rising damp can have a ripple effect, impacting both your home structure and your health. For starters, think about the increase in humidity. Dubai is already quite humid, but rising damp can make things even more uncomfortable inside your home.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. It's nothing worse than feeling sticky and sweaty indoors, even when the AC is blasting. But it's more than just discomfort, right? What other consequences are we talking about?
Right, it's not just about feeling sticky. High humidity creates a breeding ground for mold, which loves damp, dark spaces, and mold, as we know, can release spores into the air you breathe. Those spores can trigger all sorts of respiratory problems, allergies, and even more serious health issues.
So we're talking about a potential health hazard lurking within our walls. That's definitely not something you want to mess around with, especially if you have young children or someone with respiratory issues in your family.
Exactly. And beyond the health implications, think about the structural damage. Constant moisture weakens building materials over time. It's like a slow, silent attack on the integrity of your home.
This is where it gets really what kind of damage are we talking about specifically?
You start seeing things like crumbling plaster, warped wood, peeling paint, and in severe cases, even compromised foundations. Think about it. Dubai is built on sand. If the foundation of your home is weakened by moisture, it can lead to major structural issues.
That's a scary thought. I mean, we see those beautiful skyscrapers rising all over Dubai, but it's easy to forget that even the most modern buildings are vulnerable to these basic forces of nature.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the aesthetic damage, those unsightly efflorescence patches, peeling paint, and discolored walls. They all detract from the beauty of your home. It's like a slow decline in the visual appeal of your living space.
It's like watching your investment slowly deteriorate before your eyes. And speaking of investment, it sounds like rising damp could actually decrease the value of your property.
That's absolutely right. Potential buyers will be wary of those visible signs of dampness. They'll know it could mean costly repairs and potential health risks. So addressing rising damp isn't just about preserving the beauty and comfort of your home. It's also about protecting your investment.
Okay, so we've established that rising damp is a serious issue with a range of consequences both for our health and our homes. But let's talk solutions. What can homeowners in Dubai do to combat this hidden enemy? It all sounds pretty overwhelming.
It can feel overwhelming, but the key is to address the problem early on and take the right preventative measures. The first step is to identify the source of the moisture. That's where a thorough home inspection comes in.
I'm guessing this is where our sponsor Santa Service can really help, right?
Absolutely. Santa Service specializes in indoor environmental health quality management. They have the expertise to conduct a comprehensive inspection and pinpoint the root cause of the problem, whether it's a leaky pipe hidden within a wall, faulty grouting in your bathroom, or something else entirely.
So they're like detectives for your home, but instead of finding clues, they're finding leaks and moisture problems.
That's a great way to put it. And once the source of moisture is identified, the next step is to fix it. This might involve repairing those leaky pipes, regrouting those bathroom tiles, sealing any cracks in your walls, or addressing any structural issues that are contributing to the problem.
To fix the leak, eliminate the moisture source, and the rising damp should stop, right?
In theory, yes, but there are a few other crucial things to keep in mind. For instance, if your walls are already showing signs of dampness or efflorescence, you can't just cover it up with a fresh coat of paint and call it a day.
Really, I would have thought a fresh coat of paint would mask the problem perfectly. It's what we do here in Dubai, make things look shiny and new.
It might mask it temporarily, but it won't solve the underlying problem. If those walls haven't completely dried out, that trapped moisture will continue to cause damage, and you might even end up with mold growth behind your newly painted walls. It's like putting a bandage on a wound that needs stitches.
I see. So patience is key here. Let the walls dry thoroughly before doing any cosmetic work. It's about addressing the root cause, not just covering up the symptoms.
Precisely. And while we're on the topic of prevention, it's important to remember those intense downpours we talked about earlier, even though they're infrequent. They can have a significant impact on the moisture levels around your home.
Right, those sudden deluges that can turn Dubai's streets into rivers in an instant. What can we do to minimize the risk of that rainwater seeping into our homes and contributing to rising damp?
Make sure you have proper drainage systems in place to direct that rainwater away from your foundation. This might involve cleaning out gutters, ensuring downspouts are directing water away from your home, and even considering landscaping solutions that help with drainage.
So it's about creating a barrier between that sudden influx of water and your home's foundation, thinking about those downpours. I can definitely see how important that would be, especially in areas of Dubai that are prone to flooding.
Exactly. And for homes with more severe or recurring rising damp problems, there are more advanced solutions like installing damp-proof membranes in your walls and floors. These membranes act as a barrier, preventing moisture from traveling upwards from the ground.
I'm thinking about those damp-proof membranes you mentioned. That sounds like a major undertaking.
It can be, but it's a highly effective solution, especially in older buildings where the original construction might not have included adequate damp-proofing measures.
So it's like adding an extra layer of protection to your home's defense system against moisture.
Right.
But I imagine that's a job best left to the professionals.
Right. Absolutely. Installing damp-proof membranes requires specialized knowledge and techniques. It's not a DIY project you want to tackle on your own. Again, this is where a company like Sani Service comes in. Their expertise in indoor environmental health. Quality management ensures they can assess your home's specific needs and recommend the most effective solutions to tackle rising damp and prevent it from coming back.
So if I'm a homeowner in Dubai, what are some key takeaways I should keep in mind when it comes to rising damp? It seems like there's a lot to consider.
You're right, there's a lot to consider, but don't let it overwhelm you. First and foremost, don't underestimate the risk of rising damp. Just because we live in a desert climate doesn't mean we're immune. It's a silent threat that can cause major problems if it's ignored.
So awareness is key. We need to be vigilant and know what to look for.
Exactly. We need to be vigilant and know what to look for.
Okay. Keep an eye out for any signs of dampness, peeling paint, discolored walls, that telltale efflorescence we talked about earlier. And if you spot anything suspicious, don't hesitate to contact a professional like Sani Service to get an expert assessment.
Yeah, they can really help you out there.
It sounds like early intervention is crucial. Catching the problem early can save you a lot of headaches and money down the line.
Absolutely. And remember, maintaining a healthy indoor environment is an ongoing process. It's not just about fixing problems when they arise. It's about proactive measures to prevent those problems from happening in the first place.
So what kind of proactive measures are we talking about?
Things like making sure your plumbing is in good condition, keeping your bathrooms well ventilated, and addressing any leaks or moisture issues promptly. Don't let those small problems fester and turn into bigger ones.
You mentioned ventilation. That's something we often overlook in Dubai because we rely so heavily on AC, but proper ventilation is essential for regulating humidity and preventing mold growth, right?
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to open those windows and let some fresh air circulate, especially during the cooler months when you can turn off the AC for a bit. And make sure your bathrooms have adequate exhaust fans to remove excess moisture after showers and baths.
So we're talking about a multi-pronged approach here. Being mindful of plumbing ventilation and those external factors like rainwater drainage. It's about creating a multi-layered defense against moisture intrusion.
That's a great way to put it. And of course, if you're ever unsure about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to the experts at Sani Service. They're a wealth of knowledge and can guide you through the process of creating a truly healthy and resilient home environment.
They're a fantastic resource, and we're lucky to have them here in Dubai. So to wrap things up, any final thoughts for our listeners? What's the one thing you want them to walk away remembering from today's discussion?
For me, it comes back to that idea of awareness. Rising damp is a serious issue, but it's also a preventable one. By understanding the causes, recognizing the signs, and taking proactive steps, we can protect our homes, our health, and our investments.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, this has been an incredibly informative conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure. Always happy to talk about the things that matter most when it comes to our homes and our well-being.
And a huge thank you to our sponsor, Sani Service, for making Indoor Matters podcast possible. If you're interested in learning more about indoor environmental health and the services offered by Sani Service, be sure to check out their website. They're a wealth of information and can provide tailored solutions to meet your specific needs.
And if you're enjoying Indoor Matters podcast, we encourage you to subscribe and leave us a review. We love hearing from our listeners.
Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final thought. We've talked a lot about the importance of individual action when it comes to preventing rising damp. But what about the bigger picture? As Dubai continues to grow and evolve, are we doing enough as a city to address this issue? Are new construction projects taking sufficient precautions to prevent rising damp in the future? These are questions worth pondering as we continue to build and shape the urban landscape of Dubai.
Excellent point. It's about collective responsibility as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So until next time, stay informed, stay proactive, and take care of those indoor matters.